Hello and welcome to this exciting tutorial on an animated CSS menu. Alright, so let's see what this menu can do. So if I click on the first menu button, it closes up like that, which is pretty awesome. Okay, looks pretty cool if you ask me. So let's get down to business. Keep in mind this is purely CSS, no JavaScript or anything like that. So it's purely CSS. So let's get down to business and make our very own. So fire up your favorite text editor. Mine is Sublime Text. You can use any text editor of your choice. So let me create a new file and save it as menu.html. You can save it as .php. That's up to you. All files, make sure it's all files that you're saving and say save. Now in the same folder that I'm saving my menu file, I have an image called bg.jpg to use as my background image. All right, with that in mind, let's create our style tags. Okay, so those are the style tags, and then below here, let me create the body tag, and inside that I need a div that is going to hold everything together. Now inside that div, what I want to create are list items, okay, unordered list, like that. Now inside that unordered list, I'm going to create my first list item. List item. Now this one I'm going to call first menu, okay. Then I'm going to create submenu items inside here. So I'll create another unordered list item, and inside there, that's when I'm going to put other list items like home. Let me duplicate this a couple of times and say about us, the usual suspects. Oh, sorry, what have I just done? Contact us. You need to contact us. Gallery. You can put any items on this part. It's pretty much up to you. I think I pushed this a little bit too far. So let's recap a little bit. So we have a div holding an entire unordered list. Inside there we have one list item with children, which are there. So let me save that and let's run this in Firefox. See what we get. So nothing epic so far, yeah. So you see first menu and children. That's exactly what I want. So let me just duplicate this part because I want second and the third menu in the same exact format. So this one must be third and this one must be second. Oh, what am I typing? Second. All right, there we go. So if we refresh the page, that's what we see. Okay, now we are done with the HTML, but just to be specific, let me give these guys one class. These guys are the main menu items. Let me give them a class of main like that. So let me just copy this. I want to give them exactly the same class so that I can style them at once. Then let me give these others an ID of submenu, sub_menu like that. This one will be submenu 1 and the others will have corresponding numbers in sequence. So this one number 2, this submenu item number 3. Awesome. All right, so nothing has changed so far. So let's go to our CSS and start styling. So let me start with the body. Okay, let me style the body. First of all, I want a font family of Arial, like that. Okay, I want a background image. In this case, background image. URL, as I said, we put a one image there called bg.jpg. Okay, I want it to fill the whole thing, so I'll say background size 100%. I forgot a semicolon here. What else do I want? I want to add a color of white so I can see the text that I'm working on. Right, that's pretty much it. So there we go. Awesome. But let's move over to the center. Let's move everything to the center. So to do that, let me style the div, give it a margin of auto. That will push everything to the center. Okay. What else? Padding. Give it a padding of 1em. So to give space to the between, oh, sorry, to give some space between items, and then I can give it a width, specific width, because for the margin auto to work, I need to have a specific width in mind. So let me just say width 200 pixels. So with that in mind, let's see what we've got. There we go. Okay, so let's style the buttons themselves. So to start with, I want to style the UL, the unordered list. So in this case, we are styling this. So we're only excluding this stuff, body and div. Okay, so first of all, the list style, I want it to be none so that I don't see those bullets on the text. As you can see, the bullets are now gone. Okay, so let me give these guys a background color, something slightly off-white, like an E1, E1, E1. Easy enough to remember. And then let's give a padding 0 pixels. Margin 0 pixels. Let me give a cursor of pointer. That way, when I point at the menu items, it changes to a hand. So let me emphasize the color white for these items. Actually, I don't need to because it's in the body. Let's give it an opacity of 0.8. Okay, I want it to be semi-transparent. So let me refresh, and that's what you actually see. The color is a bit so I do need a color here. So let me add color to these guys. Let's try 6F. 6F. Easy enough. Yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself with this color on the top. Anyway, moving on, let's try unordered list item. So now I'm styling the individual buttons themselves. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's say text alignment, center. Let's add something like some padding, 6 pixels. Okay, and let's say border at the bottom, bottom. So I want these guys to have a line, each button to have a line at the bottom, so that we can see the demarcations between them, something off black slightly. And then I'll add a height of 20 pixels. Now the reason I'm adding a height, because I'll be using what's this, overflow hidden later on, and it requires that I specify a height. So there we go, we're looking more like a menu slowly. So let me add something for a hover effect here. So how to add a hover effect is just to go at the end of this and say hover. So now when I hover over these buttons, I can change the styles. Okay, so here I just want a color of white when I hover on these buttons. So now as you can see, as I hover on the buttons, the color changes to white. Pretty awesome. Okay, now as you can see, I'd given these guys a class of main for the main menu item. So I want to style that. So dot main, because it's a class, so we have to use the dot symbol. In this case, I've lost my my mouse. Where is my mouse? Okay, there it is. All right, so main, I have to style that. Let me give it a background color, something that looks a little bit maroonish. E05994B. I looked these up on a color wheel. Let me make sure the color is still white on these, otherwise we won't be able to see anything. Let me also create a hover for main. Main hover, like that. So on the hover, I'll add another background color. This one will be, actually this color that I've added here is quite whitey. So let me put it on the hover instead. Put something here that's actually maroon, like C039-2B. Something like that. And let me add a border bottom here as well. Solid thin AAA. Okay, so that's it for the main buttons. Let me see how they look like now, and that's it. See, pretty awesome. They even have a hover effect already there. Now what we need to do is to do something about the clicking here, so that this part responds to a click, it folds and unfolds. So let me try and use a hover effect of this one to hide this, so that you can see the concept behind it. So we already have a main hover here. So instead, I want to tell it to hide submenu 1. So it's as easy as going to the hover part and just say display. Oh, sorry, actually, if I display none, I'll be disturbing this. I'll be displaying none, the main part itself. So instead, let me duplicate that. What we want is to hover here, but have it affect something else. So in order to do that in CSS, we go to the hover effect of this, and then we add a tilde key. Now, if this key is just above your tab key on the keyboard, it's called the tilde key, I think. This one signifies, what's this? Sibling. If you do this, it's child, okay? But this one is sibling. The reason I'm using this one is because you see this list item is a sibling of this one. So it's going to look for one of the siblings with this name. So let me copy that sibling and put that name there. Specifically, I'm looking for submenu 1. So whatever I put here will affect submenu 1 when I hover over main. So let me just say display none. So this is the whole secret to doing something like this. So if I hover on this, you see what happens, just like that. Okay. So now the problem we have, as you can see here, is that when we leave the hover, this thing comes back. Okay. And unfortunately, there's no click event to maintain this. So what I did instead, used checkboxes, because the checkboxes remember their state. So let me just get one of these, type checkbox, okay, and then let me give this checkbox an ID of check1, just for simplicity's sake. I don't need the name of it, I don't need to name it. So let me just go here and refresh, and you see there's a checkbox here. So you see the checkbox remembers its state like that, so we can use that to an advantage instead of using the hover. Okay, now the problem we have is that people will be clicking this and not the checkbox itself. But luckily, HTML offers us a chance to actually click something else and have it activate something else by using labels. Okay, so how do we use labels here? First of all, let me just cancel this hover over here so it doesn't affect anything. So let me create a label. Let me open a label like that. Now a label is very interesting because if inside the label here I say for, specify what this label is for, I want it to be for checkbox 1. So we named it check1 like that. If I say it's for that, and then I just put some text here and say label. Now watch what happens. This is label. If I click on label, you see it actually activates the checkbox because that's what it's for. Now I want it here, so instead let me delete the text label and actually put our menu item inside that label. Okay, like that. Now the label can be anywhere and it will still activate the input regardless where it is on the page. So let me refresh this and click on this, and you see the checkbox is actually activated. So now instead of using the hover effect, we can just say label. Okay, the label is actually named check1, so let's just do check1. Instead of hover, it's got another state called checked. Okay, so on the checked of submenu, when check1 is checked, it will affect submenu in this way. Okay, so let's refresh the page and see that in action. Click, and there we go. See? Click, click, click. Pretty awesome. So we can do the same thing to the rest of the page. So let me just copy these good labels, these checkboxes rather, and put them down here. And let me go to the third one and put the box right there, and then cover these guys with labels like that and like that. Closing label and closing label. Now let me remember to change this to check3. Where else am I supposed to change? I think that's about it. Check2. 1 remains. Okie dokie. Now let's also add styles for the other two as well. So I'll just duplicate these because it's exactly the same thing we should be doing, and just change that to 2 and the other one to 3. Also here 3 and here 2. Alrighty, so let me refresh that page, and as you can see, it's working pretty well. but we don't want to see these checkboxes here, so we might as well hide them. Now these are inputs, so we could simply give them names, or just create styles for each one of these, check 1, check 2, and check 3, or we could just say input or inputs display none. You to do the same thing so that these guys don't show, they are hidden, but then we can click. You know, this is pretty awesome. You can even end right here if you want, but let's add some animation or transitions to these guys so they look much cooler when they're opening and closing. All right, so to do that, unfortunately you can't animate or transition this display none. It's not animatable or transitionable. Okay, so in order to do that cool stuff, what I did was I used the height. I'm minimizing the height of each individual button here to 0. That way, when each one of these has a 0 height, they will squeeze up to the top. Okay, so let's see that in action. Let me let me start with submenu 1. Let me say height 0 pixels. Okay, now unfortunately it'll work, this will work, but unfortunately if you look closely you can see the text still showing down there, which is not cool at all, because the button itself has reduced, the list item has reduced, but the text is still there. So this is where the overflow comes in. Okay, overflow, let's set that to hidden. Let me use this part here. Let me just say overflow hidden, so that anything that goes beyond what it's any element is cut off automatically. So that's what happens here. Now those things disappear quite nicely. Okay, so let me do the same for these other guys. So here I've added a height of 0 instead of the display none. Now the reason I'm using height is because height is animatable, which is pretty awesome. So now let's add some animation to these guys. So here we're actually adding transitions. They are not really animations, we're adding transitions. So let's do this. Let me say transition. Okay, now to add a transition, you just give the name of the transition, the element you're transitioning, the item, height, then the transition length or duration, I mean 0.6 seconds in my case, and then I can add the type of animation I want. I could say linear, which is straightforward, or I could say ease in, out, one of my favorites, and then when the transition should start or how long it should wait, I'll say 0.1 seconds. That's pretty much it. So let's see that part in action. It's not actually working. So why isn't it working? Because I have to put the transition on the item itself, not on the hover effect or the checked or something like that. So in order to do that, I need to create a style for submenu 1, which is what I am working on now. So let me move the transition to there. Right? Cool. So there's a transition on submenu 1, and then on the checked action, there's a height 0. Meanwhile, the original height is 20 pixels. Let me just explicitly say that 20 pixels is the original height there, just to be sure. So let me refresh and click that. And so you see it goes to 20 pixels and then back to 0. So it's working and it's transitioning just fine. But unfortunately, we can't see everything because I'm actually transitioning the whole, this whole part. Let me show you that. This is what I'm dealing with. But what I want is to minimize the height of each individual button. So I have to add list item, submenu li, to target these guys. So let me go up here to where this one on the checked, at the end I'll put li, list item. So let me do that before I forget for all these guys to make sure I'm targeting individual buttons. So let me do that, refresh, and then if I do that, what's happening? Oh, I see. Okay, so you see what's happening here. The reason they're not folding completely is because there's padding as well. So let me put a padding of 0 on this one. So let me copy that. Let me put that there as well. Padding 0. So refresh, and they are gone now. So we have that all over again, which is working without using display none which is pretty cool because we can animate display none. But it's not animating, which is also a source of worry. So submenu 1, oh sorry, I have to animate submenu 1 li. Okay, so let me refresh that. You see that? That's pretty cool. But it's jerking like that because there's padding involved, and I'm only specifying a transition for height. So I could add another transition by putting a comma at the end of this and changing the height to padding. That will sort out the problem. So if I click, that's awesome. Okay, now something else you could do, instead of adding padding, height, in case you have many of these parameters that are changing, you can just say all, and it will animate everything. So let me just close that, leave it at all, and as you can see, it's going to do exactly the same thing. So this ease in and out, you can see it starts slowly and then speed up and then slow down again at the very end, which is pretty cool. But I like to add a bit more character and use the cubic Bezier instead of the ease in and out. Now cubic Bezier is different from ease because there's linear. You can check out how these work. Linear, and then there's ease, then there's ease in, ease out, and then there's cubic Bezier, my personal favorite. It adds a bit of more character to the, like that. It bounces a little bit. Now, in case you want to create your own, you don't know what these numbers mean, you can simply go to a site called cubicbezier.com, and then you can create your own Bezier curve here. You can play around with the motions and click here to see how the movement happens, and then when you're done, you can simply copy this part, cubic Bezier, copy that, and then you paste it in your project. Okay, so let me do the same for these other three, menu 2 and menu 3, to give all of them transitions. So let's go back to our project, and then I click shoop, shoop, shoop. Pretty awesome. All right, that's pretty cool. So we have our menu, but here there is no cursor. Let me go back here and add cursor. Pointer. That looks much better. So let me refresh, and yes, we have the pointer. Cool. Okay, so that's how you make an animated menu with CSS only. So I hope you learned a thing or two from this. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to see more cool videos like this, and I will see you in a later video.